Hey Facebook, good evening and welcome to another episode of Post Daily Dose with me, your trusted parenting advisor, faithful guide and servant on the healing journey. What's my name? Big Papa Bryan Post. I hope everyone's doing fantastic this evening. I am filming today from Indiana. I'm trying to think of the name of the city. Where are we at? What city are we in? West Lafayette, Indiana. That's right. From Sammy's house. So Sammy wanted me to make sure I said we're filming from Sammy's house. So filming from Sammy's house in West Lafayette. And hope you guys are doing fantastic. So today I want to pick up, had a long travel yesterday, and so missed you guys. I think Christy filled in for me, but I want to pick up with our 10 things every foster parent should know series, and today is number 4, and that is celebrations can be difficult. And this really speaks to both adopted children as well as foster children. And with Mother's Day coming up, and happy early Mother's Day to all you amazing mothers, is that for foster children and for adopted children, holidays typically have a lot of, hey Gareth, good evening. Holidays and celebrations typically all really speak to some level of family connection and family enjoyment and family fun. And there's a dynamic that occurs with foster children who have lost or been separated from their family of origin, as well as with adopted children who may or may not have ever even known their biological families. There's something inherent in the holidays that can be challenging and can be stressful. And I think it's just important to keep in mind. I know in our post-evolution, in the private evolution group, one of the moms mentioned, hey Heidi, one of the moms mentioned her children really struggling around Mother's Day. And her adopted daughter's really struggling around Mother's Day because it brings up a lot of loss for them, which then also makes her feel some level of loss because then she's losing out on the opportunity to be celebrated as a mother, which is unfortunate. And my response to her, and then I want to tell you guys something interesting about that as well. My response to her is that it's an opportunity for her to help her daughters grieve, which is what so many moms are fantastic at doing, is giving their children that emotional support during that really challenging time, and then put that on dad's shoulders or the partner's shoulders or the significant other's shoulders to celebrate the mom and to engage the children to celebrate the mom, as opposed to really putting the onus on the celebration or the recognition on the children. That's really something that the significant other should do. And so that was kind of my response, is let the partner, let the dad or whoever that person may be, let them step up and do that celebration. Otherwise, definitely create an opportunity for your children to go ahead and grieve. Now, I say that because I never had any issues around, to the best of my knowledge, I never really had any issues around Mother's Day. And I never had any. So this is interesting because I'm just recently, a family I'm going to be going to work with next week, they mentioned perhaps including the biological father in the work, and he's, they know of him, but he's been I don't think even really involved, but for some reason they are just considering. They just asked the question, would it be beneficial, because their little daughter has been asking about her biological family, so they thought, well, would it be helpful to have him in the session? And no, it wouldn't, especially considering that just 2 years ago, they were in a place of possibly relinquishing this child's adoption. And so it's interesting to me the level of there's a level of insecurity that's playing out in some of these conversations. I believe I never had any issues with my adoptive parents, period. As a kid, I never even had any questions about my biological family. And I don't think it's because I compartmentalize, even though I do compartmentalize. I know that I struggled with some depression during adolescence. And early on, I used to make up lies about who my biological dad was. Like, he was Tony Dorsett of the Dallas Cowboys. It made me feel special, and that I had gang friends. But ultimately, I never really had any questions about who my parents were, because my parents were my parents were my parents. It was my mom and dad. And I felt 100% secure in my relationship with them. And I think that sometimes as adoptive parents, that and I feel like there's a level of it that's unconscious, not just adoptive parents, but foster parents too. And I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent. When we don't fully, and maybe we think we're fully embracing our adopted children as our children, but maybe there's a level that doesn't feel quite confident. Maybe there's a level of uncertainty and insecurity, and there's something in that dynamic that our adopted children pick up on. Therefore, it leaves some questions in their head. And I would say that my sister, on the other hand, did have questions about her biological family, and she expressed an interest in wanting to try to connect with them really early, whereas I never did. And so, but then again, she had a very insecure relationship with my parents. So I say all that because, some children, they do. It's like, especially with birthdays and things like that, those can be reunion, episodes for a lot of kids, and they can really struggle during those periods of time. But not all, but some really do. And I feel like anytime you're going into a holiday with a foster child, whether it's a Mother's Day, a Father's Day, a Thanksgiving, a Christmas, what have you, it's important to be mindful of the fact that there is a level of loss associated with this holiday and with this celebration for that child. This child can't just celebrate Mother's Day freely without it triggering some loss and some abandonment, and then some sense of not being good enough, all in the midst of everyone else who's in the midst of a celebration. So, there's a lot of confusion that gets created. It's a lot of emotional confusion that can get created, and it's just important as foster parents and as adoptive parents that we really have a consciousness of just what some of these holidays can mean to our children, that have nothing to do, it has nothing to do with us as parents. It just has to do with what their experience has been. And I don't think we're always very mindful of that. So I think one of the things that's really important for foster parents to know is that Mother's Days and Father's Days can be times of sadness. And we're best served, and we will best serve our children by giving them the opportunity to grieve and address any level of loss. It doesn't have to be a day of sadness. It could just be a time you recognize that they're maybe particularly stressed and withdrawn or really agitated, and it just could be an opportunity for you to say, hey, it's Mother's Day, and yes, I'm your mom who's raising you. But are you having any feelings about your biological mom? Is there anything you want to talk about? Maybe they'll talk about it, maybe they won't, But sometimes it's just honoring that experience that can make all the difference, and just opening that door. It's just like acknowledging. They may want to talk about it, they may not want to talk about it. Sometimes just acknowledging that there's a loss there, or that there has been a loss, and that there could possibly be some feelings, makes a big difference. And so that's number 4. Just be mindful that holidays can can be challenging times for your foster children and your adopted children, because they come to the celebrations with some level of loss, therefore some sadness. So Heidi says, so if our child knows his bios but doesn't have contact, should we encourage them to send them something? I have so many mixed, so, going back to what I mentioned about that child. No, I didn't want, I have no interest in including the bio families in that work. Here's the thing. If you have an insecure relationship with your adopted child now, the last thing you want to do is introduce the bio family. Introducing the bio family, in my personal opinion, is not going to create any additional security in your relationship with your child. It's probably more than anything, it's feeding an underlying insecurity that you have in regards to your child and in your relationship with your child. In my experience, a child gets, when they meet their biological family, it just creates more stress and confusion. And ultimately, I feel like it's a setup for adoptive families to really get to that place of solidifying their relationships. And there have been many times, many instances where I have advocated in court that smaller children, 10 or younger, that they not have any contact, especially if it's a family where there was trauma and you have these supervised visitations and things of that nature. If a child comes back from a supervised visit and they're completely stressed out, that tells me that visit is probably not in that child's best interest. And so no, I wouldn't encourage them to send something, because you shouldn't have to, Heidi. The truth is, if the bio family was really interested and invested, you wouldn't have to encourage them to send something. So the very fact that you have to encourage them tells me I wouldn't encourage them at all. Because again, it's just opening up a door. The best thing you can do is just continue to create that security for your child, that connection, that sense of safety and predictability, letting them know that you're there for them, you're their forever child, and you be there to support them and work through those challenges. So remember, in any given situation, we always have two choices. We can continue to react and feel overwhelmed by our past imprints of fear and stress and overwhelm, or we can stop, we can take 3 to 10 deep breaths, we can slow down, and we can choose love. And so I hope that you would choose love in any given circumstance and situation as often as possible. So I'm here in West Lafayette, Indiana. Going to be here until Sunday. Be spending all day. Been spending half the day with the family today, all day tomorrow. So I will catch you guys again. Happy Mother's Day. I will catch you all again on Monday. Be home Monday and Tuesday, and then on the road again to California. I'll be heading up to Eureka, California. So God bless. Big Papa loves you, and we'll be talking to you soon.